Lately, I've been struck by ever-Trumpers' strange messianic devotion to the President of the United States, POTUS, as if criticizing him is a heretical sin. Now I know why. Most operations, intelligence wars, false flags, begin with IPB, intelligence preparation of the battlefield, evaluating and understanding the terrain. And the terrain is ultimately and fundamentally human. Fundamental weapon is body itself, ultimate mind. And any and all competent intelligence entities, demonic or deep state, grasp this. The COVID PSYOP attacked both. First, the depopulation and repopulation strategy was adopted. Then, means created, the bioweapon. Then, terrain was prepared for course of action. A false flag was delivered as a vaccine. Crisis created immediacy. Plant a story, have fake news fan the flames, have a couple of folks die on camera. Some are actors, some are poisoned. Announce a crisis. Have the military run it. POTUS back it. Give it a catchy name that relates intergenerationally television, book, video games, and movie phenomenon. Warp speed, Star Trek, get it? But how to judge effectiveness? Stats and metrics? Nobody knows better than the cabal that those are totally manipulatable. They mean whatever you want them to mean. Depends on stat and metric presentation. Again, this is military territory. In the first Gulf War, military intelligence, my branch, prepped the battlefield of the mind by having PSYOP, my first unit, drop leaflets. 4th PSYOP Group Division with the CIA's Psychological Operations Division used bombs, artillery shells, balloons to distribute messages with pinpoint accuracy. The campaign was considered highly effective, with military records indicating that 98% of Iraqi war prisoners had seen the leaflets, 88% believed the messages, and 70% said the leaflets influenced their decision to surrender. But the visual success was the Iraqis' surrender with their hands or weapons held over their heads. Hordes complied, whole units. This was tangible confirmation of the PSYOP's success. Real, verifiable, not numbers and graphics. But back to the COVID PSYOP. We all knew the mask was useless. Stupid scientism, not science. But the mask had nothing to do with virus prevention, science, or medicine. It was a visual indicator of a successful PSYOP campaign, and wildly successful. Masked morons played in orchestras with masks on, couples eating in restaurants lifted their masks to eat, and true masked morons walked alone outdoors in masks. The mask was not about medical prevention. It was all about obedience. An obedience that subverted logic, science, and all rationality. Shut up, mask up, or else. And it worked. I still can't believe how well and how stupid and slave-oriented our dumbed down, fattened up, drugged up nation and world has become. So what's the history lesson got to do with Trump as Jesus posted on Truth Social? It is a PSYOP success indicator too. But the news is, while it initially succeeded, it was originally posted on Truth Social in February, just with flying soldiers. It has now had the addition of the demon, and in being posted on X, it has failed. And Trump has deleted the post. The PSYOP is dead. It worked fine inside Truth Social, where Trump cultists accepted POTUS as Jesus since February. But when it was leaked beyond Truth Social, true Christians were outraged. This is a win. Team Trump blinked, retreated. But understand the enemy, yes, enemy intent. The MAGA cult has a new Messiah, and it's not Yeshua. That cult is fully realized in the Zionist Israeli Likud Netanyahu Mossad regime. It is also fully formed within the Christian nationalist, Protestant, evangelical, Zionist megachurches of America, aligning nicely with another false gospel of prosperity. It apparently flourished on Truth Social. I say apparently because I was removed without explanation months ago. But as Carly so aptly posted on X, this is nothing new. Obama handlers ran it too. I remember being taken aback as I exited a New York subway and saw an Obama campaign poster with the presidential seal strategically placed as a halo. The fallen nature of man realizes that you can't make men gods. But even the founders have fallen for this. If you go to the dome, the Congressional Dome in the Capitol, you will see the apotheosis of George Washington. The apotheosis of George Washington means deification or glorification. The fresco was painted by Constantino Brunelleschi that depicts George Washington ascending, like Jesus in the Ascension, into heavens within the dome of the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. The painting is suspended above the rotunda floor and covers an area of 4,664 feet. Within the dome of the United States, the painting hangs suspended. It's still there. You can go see it. Washington as Jesus ascending, draped in purple, flanked by liberty and victory, and surrounded by 13 maidens representing the original states. The term apotheosis means the glorification or deification of a person. Washington depicted ascending to godhood as Jesus, a concept reflecting his national status as an icon in the 19th century. But it is much older than that. In Rome, Julius Caesar was the first ruler to be officially deified after his death in 44 BC. Deification typically occurred posthumously by the Senate decree. However, a significant cultural divide existed between the East and West. In Greek-speaking provinces of Rome, living emperors were often worshipped as gods during their lifetime. Take a look at DC. Look at the architecture. It's all Greco-Roman. The Trump as Jesus post, whomever posted it, could not have been missed by senior so-called spiritual advisors. Given what I've seen and heard over her show services, I'm sure Paula White was orgasmic over it. But it was inside the cult's own space. Its mechanism, its Twitter, is where the true believers dwell. Somewhere along the way, someone modified the Trump healing the nation by adding a demon, center stage, and above him. Right about when Trump's arch is revealed as well. It too features a horned and winged figure. Do you see the progression? Trump's initial win is a surprise upset. MAGA is real, so is Trump, but the deep state wakes up, gets serious, gives the masses a caricature of a president so evil, so fake, anyone would be better than Pedo Joe Biden. Miraculously, pun intended, Trump wins, even though slandered, impeached, and convictions. But it wasn't too big to rig. Trump had been gotten to, touched, M.I.C.E.D. Recall the old acronym M.I.C.E.: by either money, influence, coercion, or likely, which is likely, or ego, highly probable, Trump is now deep state controlled for the cabal, Kabbalistic Israel, Netanyahu. For now, or now his double, Likud Party and Mossad's goals are greater Israel and are puppeting Trump through some of the several aspects of M.I.C.E. to that goal. But how does Trump, as Messiah, connect with the goal of greater Israel? Perfectly. As an eschatological religious goal, which is exactly what greater Israel is, up with Israel, down with Goyim, non-Jew nations, and their God. Israelis and Jews in general are anti-Christic. My wife did not wear the cross I gave her, in which she wears daily, at her own mother's funeral because her Jewish family would have been insulted. They call the cross idolatry. They, of course, wear the Star of David, which is not really Torah, and the hand with the evil eye, which is certainly not Torah, it's magic. But elevating their puppet to desecrate Yeshua is exactly in keeping with the zeal of this religious war. Inside Truth Social cyber cult walls, the cultists were fine with Trump as Jesus post. But the source of all this is ultimately satanic. Ego. Satanic ego. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Sound familiar? The temptation was too great. Just put a little demon up there, center, above all, like in the arch. Push, probe, see how seduced and stupid the MAGA are. Test how far gone they are. And that, my fellow patriots and brothers and sisters in Christ, is the good news. Because that was a bridge too far, a line crossed. Blasphemy. True, Christians in name didn't care, but the true followers did. They erupted in righteous outrage, burning up X figuratively and setting fire to MAGA ball caps literally. And the deep state machine blinked and feared and deleted. No apology from Trump. Certainly no repentance. Trump has said he's not going to heaven. Trump is in fact admitted he posted the image himself, then went into one of his increasingly humiliating, self-justifying lies, claiming he was not dressed as Jesus, but as a doctor. We'll get to that lie in a second. But the point is, we won. The deep state lost. Prestige and face. Netanyahu lost, even though his corrupt trial is postponed yet again, his corruption trial. Most importantly, Satan lost. But our win is nothing to celebrate. It comes at a terrible cost. Our president is taken. Our country is not sovereign. Our American nation and Christian family are splintered and divided. And the furor over that post will further the divide. Satan craves this. So pray for our president. He needs our prayers now more than ever. In the AI image Trump posted, he was wearing the same exact clothes as the magician tarot card. Maria Abramovich, the witch, referred to Trump as a magician. Pray for the Christian nationalists like Hegseth and the Protestant evangelical Zionists. Pray for Israel. They are going to need them too. So much more so that Jesus wept for them and Jerusalem. And when he drew near and saw the city, he wept over it, saying, would that you, even you, had known on this day the things that make for peace, but now they are hidden from your eyes. For the days will come upon you when your enemies will set up a barricade around you and surround you and hem you in on every side and tear you down to the ground, you and your children within you. And they will not leave one stone upon another in you, because you did not know the time of your visitation. Luke 19:41. So if you'd like to see the graphics that go along with that, then you can go to jeffreyprather.substack.com. And I will take a look here and see what comments are going on. But that's my new Substack at jeffreyprather.substack.com. Candace on Friday mentioned something about the Butler shooting being staged. It couldn't have been faked because people behind him died. Our government set up God, spared Trump. That's from Aromadoc 007. So, again, you're thinking it has to be one or the other. Yes, people died. But was it set up? Yes, I've said that from the beginning. The Secret Service, whom I used to shoot with, and no, are not that incompetent. The FBI is not that incompetent to miss the guy right up on the roof. The command post was right inside the window where the guy climbed onto the roof. It was clearly a setup. We've seen the guy below, probably, who used a 300 blackout suppressed weapon and then walked out the front door. So also the high-speed drones that John Michael Cohen identified are government only. Also the spy planes flying overhead, government only. It's clear that it's likely the Israeli and American governments in on Butler for sure. But that doesn't mean that people didn't die. Same thing at January 6th, where everyone around the lady who got shot, whose name I can't think of right now, was in on it, but not her. And I still say she died. So I hope that clarifies that. Both assassination attempts were setups, as far as I'm concerned, and there are more, as far as I'm concerned. But I really want to go over my intro there, because I'm really, I know, going to tick off a lot of people because I am saying Trump is puppeted, enslaved, and I think that is obvious at this point. He's also very confused. You know, he contradicts himself in the same speech. You know, we've achieved regime change. We haven't achieved regime change. And then, of course, he's humiliated continually because he says one thing and then Netanyahu and Israel do another. So Trump is M.I.C.E.D. And so that's the old intelligence term I mentioned in my intro about money, influence, coercion, or ego. And I'm saying likely coercion. And that may be the Epstein files. That may be small atomic demolition devices emplaced by Israel across the United States. That may be Israel's threat to use an atomic weapon against Iran. Or it may also be, more highly probable, Trump's ego. And I say that because that's why they've made Trump a political messiah. They've given him a crown. They've given coins to him. And that's why I say he's the first Jewish president. I believe he converted. And so the ego, which obviously anybody assessing, any intelligence officer assessing Trump, that would be my first assessment. Money would be my last, of course. He's got a lot of money, but ego is, I believe, how his Mossad case officers approached him and do run him. What's your thoughts on the IRGC being in bed with the city of London, as are Israelis? I'm not, of course, I'm familiar with the city of London's aspects. I'm not familiar with the IRGC being in bed with them. I don't think the IRGC has been, I don't know that they have been involved with them, Earl Jackson. So sorry about that. Don't know the answer to that. But I also want to bring up the fact that is it even Netanyahu? Now, a while back, of course, I said Netanyahu dead. I should really probably correct that and say Netanyahu dead, in coma, or missing, because a lot of the images were all of AI and they were debunked. However, there are now images coming out that I haven't seen AI debunks on X. So if you have, on the latest Netanyahu images, seen them, then I appreciate you forwarding those to me on X, on my X account, so I can stay up with that. Lloyd's of London has made $30 trillion on insurance thanks to Iran over the years. Yeah, I mean, insurance is a racket. Tax days tomorrow. Income tax is a racket, certainly. I'm sure our government set up Butler. Anyone who gets killed are just casualties of war. Think of the Holocaust. Many casualties had to happen for the Jews to obtain Palestine. They did it to their own. I don't know that I would agree with that. And I also certainly believe the citizens of Israel have a right to exist. I'll say something, that Tucker won't. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to criticize them for what they are doing. I mean, from their point of view, what they're doing is real smart. But from our point of view, a major military power to work for Israel and be in this war is foolish. So also, I want to talk about Netanyahu's trial being postponed yet again. So many people don't know that Netanyahu has been extensively interviewed and interrogated and recorded. Tucker covered this a couple of weeks back in a documentary, and it was very revealing that he is charged with corruption, with taking a lot of gifts. And that corruption trial keeps getting postponed because the excuse is, as I understand it, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, because Israel is at war. He is a wartime president. He's a commander in chief, and so he can't be bothered and hampered by a trial. But of course, Israel on its own could not take on Iran. Probably couldn't take on the surrounding states anymore. The IDF is not the IDF that it was before. So we really need to see that Netanyahu needs Israel at war, and to sustain the war, he needs to have the United States involved. And to have the United States involved, he's got to have POTUS, President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief, CIC, involved, and therefore the recruitment effort, the evaluation, the M.I.C.E.-ED, probably of the E of ego. And that is why all of this is happening. That is my intelligence assessment analysis of what is happening. The good news, though, is that Americans are not buying that. Just like I went through with my very controversial, I'm sure, intro and Substack. But I think it's totally true. And I'm going to give you the ruthless truth, whether you like it or not. But again, for all of you ever-Trumper cultists who think he's a messiah and think that criticizing a president, which is, of course, my right, and certainly my duty as a Christian, and it was never, I said that a while back, and certainly it was never clearer than yesterday that was my duty. And others did it as well, not just me. There were people doing it before me. In fact, I think my S3 Chief Operations, Nathan Glover, caught it way before I did. But it was certainly my right as an American citizen, certainly as a veteran, because he's getting ready to send my younger brothers and sisters into harm's way. And what a lot of us see as an untenable situation. And of course, we believe that he already ran a clandestine special operations to get the uranium, and it didn't work. So we see all of that as happening. Always appreciate the assessments and the messages. Always get to the entire team so they are fully aware. Okay, cool. I guess you're talking about Team America. So that's Peter 06 there. Yeah, so I am very open to discussions today, and I do encourage you to sign up for my Substack. And I think this one is a paid Substack. I think it is $80 a year. And the reason I encourage it is because there are a lot of images and photos. There's lots of images of Obama. There's the image of George Washington ascending. You cannot miss the symbolism there. And that wasn't the only one. There's a lot of that historically. And I think you'll see the images really put things together. But of course, if you can't afford to do that, you're getting that here for free. And of course, all my sermons, when I write them as Substacks, are free as well. And of course, all my casts are free as well. But, and I have sponsors, like I have BeReady123.com. It's a great sponsor, the Sat phone store, sat123.com. And you can get 10% off if you use the promo code Prather. If you want to get your Iridium 9555, one of my peerage that writes into the show, just email me and say, hey, what should I do? And I said, this is what you should get. This is what I got. It's got 2 of them. It's the best I've ever used, and I've used them for decades. And he said, roger that. They also have, backpacks. They have generators. They have the watch caps, the EMF watch caps to keep out all of the EMF, all of that. So BeReady123.com or sat123.com. Use the promo code Prather as well. So I also wanted to talk. So I've talked about the essentials already here. Is Trump is M.I.C.E.D.? Is it even Netanyahu? I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because I haven't seen some of the latest videos being debunked on X by AI. So when I don't see that, it's that he may come back. I still assess that he was not there. He may be back there now. I don't know for sure. I do know, or I assess with high probability that a lot of Pedo Joe's appearances were doubles and masks, and also acts. Talked about that extensively. Talked about how the CIA has long had masks. Hollywood developed them. I've worn masks. In movies, same thing, and also covered already why Netanyahu needs Trump at war. So I hope this is giving you a complete picture of the current status of where we are at. Give me some of that. Criticism is not only a right, but when it is well-founded, such as yours, it is well accepted. Well, thank you for that. Give me some of that. But I get a lot of emails and text. Some of them, cussing, and and if you're just going to degrade me, if you want to debate me, that's fine. If you want to just degrade me, then I'm going to delete you or block you. But I've had a lot of, hey, you're trashing Trump. Trump's all we got. We got to stand by Trump. Trump's playing fifth dimensional chess, which is clearly none of that is true. What it really indicates is, as I've said, Trump cultists, Trumpers seeing Trump as a messiah. And now I think we know where that's coming from. And I think that's coming from inside Truth Social. I don't know because I'm not in there. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong, but the point is that the Trump as Jesus poster was inside Truth Social, to the best of my understanding, since February. And nobody inside Truth Social said anything, which that is, all evil needs to do is for good men to do nothing. And so that means the people inside there were accepting of that. It's only when it got outside of Truth Social on X and when the demon was added that there was a reaction. So, when I'm doing intelligence assessments, I'm looking for where is this movement coming from? Why is this president Certainly, they would criticize Pedo Joe, and I'm sure they would criticize other presidents. But suddenly, when you get to President Trump, and he is the president, and I'm glad he's president, I'm just not happy with his policies. All of a sudden, it is a sacrilege or sin to criticize him. Where did that come from? Well, that had to develop. And again, I'm showing you how that developed. And I think the source of that is True Social. I think it is purposefully done. I think it is Israeli sponsored, but it is satanically sourced. And that's why I think this is so important to bring out. But I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for that, but, nothing's new about that. We must travel the road of truth no matter where it leads. People aren't able to put full trust in Jesus Christ, so they need something to believe in, so they choose Trump. Yeah, that's very true. The above thoughts come from my observation when I'm with friends. That's Ropo. Yeah, that's very true. And if you look at some of my sermons, you can go back and look at my sermon on ChristChaplaincy.com. You can look them up. They're all there. Is belief versus faith. And belief in a man elevated or deified to Godhead status versus faith in Christ. And that happens all the time. And that's what I just gave you examples of. Trump, Obama, Washington, our first rock star. Very clearly. Why? Well, because people get to experience Washington, or they got to experience Obama, and they get to experience Trump. And of course, certain forces help that, where they don't get to experience Christ. The reason they don't get to experience Christ, of course, is for the most part is conventional religion looks at Scripture as history. And until recently, when we're getting to Revelation beginning to happen, it was kind of historical, but that doesn't mean experiencing Christ doesn't happen at all. It just means that that's how people tend to look at it. And that's because, for one reason, they're not praying the way they were. Why aren't they praying the way they were? Well, you can see that right with Yeshua in the garden. He tells the apostles, that's the first ODA. Yeah, that's the 18. Hey, pray with me for an hour. Stay awake with me for an hour. They can't even do that. There's a big fall off, a big gap right there. So they're already missing so much. I think that's really well shown in the Passion, the beginning of the Passion. And then because people are not really deeply into prayer, contemplative prayer, most people limit their prayers to maybe evening prayers, and they go to church on Sunday for an hour or two, and then, that's it. But if you look at the way early Christians prayed, the Didache, the training of the apostles in the way of the Lord Jesus Christ, says you say the Lord's Prayer 3 times a day. Yeshua was out there praying all the time in silent contemplative prayer. And that prayer is the highest form of prayer because you're actually listening. Most prayer is man-oriented, man-emanated. God, I praise you. God, I thank you. God, I ask for you. Whatever. It's going from man. Contemplative prayer is opening up and listening from God. Much more powerful. And that's what you see happening in the Torah with the prophets, and you see in the New Testament with Mary and with Joseph, with the angels, and then with Yeshua at the baptism, the transfiguration, crucifixion, and of course, resurrection, all of those. But why? Well, because most churches spend about 30 seconds in contemplative prayer. Contemplative prayer is very involved because that's opening you up to receive in the Christ connection the great Holy Spirit, the Ruach Kodesh. What I think most of these fake churches, these prosperity gospel churches, the Kenneth Copeland, Joel Osteen, Paula White, all of them are doing is it's a theater act. There is no trying to drop your ego, get out of the way so the Spirit can come on to you, as done in ancient early Christian times. And yeah, that's what I'm talking about is more resembling of a Shaker or Quaker experience, although I don't consider them Christians by any means. You know, some Shaker lady was not the reincarnation of Yeshua, as they say. But again, I delve into this so much because the war that we are in, that we are having our troops die in, and that we could have a lot of troops die in if Trump goes ahead and commits them. And by the way, if Trump commits them and you are a soldier, Marine, sailor, airman, Coast Guardsman, now is not the time to object. You signed up and you got to follow the orders of your commander in chief, whether you like him or not. So that may upset even more people. But that is the way it goes. Now's not the time. If you're waiting for the ideal war, everything to be wonderful, and that doesn't mean it's a just war. I put out a sermon and a Substack on that, and Pope ended up agreeing with me there, which was nice. But regardless, you got to go. This is not the time to object. If you want to object, it should be like Muhammad Ali did, when he got drafted way before then, saying Islam's a piece of religion. I don't know where that came from, but I do admire Ali's consistency and sincerity and his integrity. And then he did go to jail. Later on, by the way, when the tribes asked him to march with him for their rights, he did. I find, Muhammad Ali a very honorable man in that regard. You can't pick and choose, even though this war is not just. And very few wars are. But anyway, I hope all that makes sense. Let me see here. Daily, we need to come to terms with our situation and renew our trust in Jesus Christ. That's what I had to do each day while in the covert lie. Okay. Got that. Just checking for comments here on X. So also, I want to address how Apple has removed all the village names from their online maps, their Maps app in southern Lebanon. So they are literally erasing these places. This really reminds me of what has happened to lots of the tribes. Although their names are Delaware, Massachusetts, Patuxent, Iowa, Nebraska, the Dakotas, Ohio, Oklahoma. Those are all Indian names, and sometimes they were tribes. But what we're seeing in southern Lebanon right now, there's a lot of Christians there as well. Is in southern Lebanon, these villagers are being raised. They're being gazaed by Israel to expand the Greater Israel Project, and Apple is going right along with it. So I'd also like to know what you think of that as well. And also, hang on a second. the United States, another really important aspect in the war is the United States has blockaded the Strait of Hormuz yesterday, and they lied again about how many ships got through. They said 34. My intelligence says 4. So there was a Chinese ship that turned away, that backed down, but there was another Chinese ship that was getting ready to run the blockade. I haven't heard what has happened to that. But eventually, this is going to be a real problem, because a lot of oil coming out of the strait was going to China. And so this appears to be more escalation of the war by the United States for Israel that could result in a superpower war. But if somebody's got any more up-to-date on the Strait of Hormuz blockade and the China ships turning aside, then I'd like to hear about it. And by the way, the Maria Abramovich, she does the spirit cooking, where she's got bodies, or cake-like bodies, and human heads coming out, and all kinds of terrible things. Maria Abramovich said Trump is the best thing to ever happen to us. He's a magician of the highest order, whose job is to create confusion and usher in a new world order. That was my reference in my Substack and opening statement. Ropo, what do I think of the moon orbit event? That appears to be falling apart, with the globe dropping, and a lot of with the AI conferences. That looks pretty fake, I gotta say. Although telescopes can pick up on the moon the lunar landing site and the crafts left there, which doesn't mean there were people on them. Again, two things are not just because two things are at odds doesn't mean they both cannot be true in some aspect. But the moon orbit event does look like it has been faked to a high degree. The moon landing looks like, because we have better telescopes good enough to look and see the lunar landing site, that there are objects there. It looks like there are footprints there as well. But really, the real question is, why didn't we go back? And there are also some real technical concerns going through the Van Allen belt, the radiation belt, and also simply getting far from the Earth, because we have an electromagnetic field around us of bioluminescence, and that interacts with the Earth's electromagnetic field. And when you get away from that, you start to die. And they haven't solved that at all. And I don't see much science fiction ever addressing that point. But that may be a real point as well about that. But, happy to throw me your questions. Happy to answer them. And I'd rather stay on, what your opinions on what I said at the beginning. But, I'll answer those as best I can as well. But again, I'm saying pray for Hegseth, pray for Trump, because that's what Yeshua says to do. and that's the only thing that's really going to work. The co-option of the American empire by Christians, including martyred Christians, Charlie Kirk, I think, being the first, mirrors the co-option, not conquering, of the Roman Empire. And we saw that if you want to see whether it can be overthrown by force, and of course, I'm a military man, I'm a gun guy, I'm a martial artist, I'm a sword guy. I'm certainly into violence, controlled violence, efficient violence, where appropriate. And I think that's what Yeshua told us. But it's pretty clear that this is not going to be won by violence. And that's the whole thing about the Passion was about, that Yeshua going through all that. But we can take it a different way. We can go back 70 years before Yeshua to the death of a Thracian slave of Rome turned gladiator called Spartacus, and the Servile Wars. And I talked about this recently in one of my Patreon videos, some of the Majors movies to take a look at. And again, you can join my Patreon at patreon.com/Jeffrey Prather. And one of the things you get at the Point Patriot level, which is $25 a month, is the Majors movies. And I talked about how Kirk Douglas wanted to star in Ben-Hur. Charlton Heston got it. So he made Spartacus. That's based upon the Howard Fast novel, which is a great book, by the way, if you want a great read. And that was the true story of the Servile Wars, of the uprising of the gladiators against Rome, who wanted to free all the slaves, and defeated many Roman legions and armies, but eventually were defeated. Thus, some 70 years before Yeshua comes along, the truth of he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. And Spartacus, unlike the movie, which is a great movie, by the way, and well worth watching, and everybody probably thinks of the scene as I Am Spartacus, but there's even better scenes. There's a great scene at the end between Sir Laurence Olivier playing Crassus and Spartacus. There's just some great scenes throughout the whole film, and it's an epic film on the level of Ben-Hur and on the level of Lawrence of Arabia. But there's a lot of human truth revealed in that. And at the end, when they finally are defeated by the military might of Rome, because the superpower of Rome could not be conquered, it had to be co-opted again by the martyrdom and blood of Christians. And that's what Yeshua was saying when he said, if you're asked to go 1 mile, go 2, because there was a Roman law that said when the Roman soldiers were marching all day, they could, if there were passerbys, they could say, hey, carry my stuff for a while. And Yeshua is actually referring to Roman soldiers when he talks about that. And that's actually shown in The Chosen. I don't think it's shown very well, but it is shown. So he was applying that to the military situation of the day. And at the end, that guy who plays Jesus looks kind of dopey there. But by the end of it, the Roman soldier whose stuff he is carrying actually has grudging respect for him. So Yeshua, because he is God incarnate, understands human nature better than we understand ourselves, because the creator of creatures is always going to understand, the creator is always going to understand what he created better than the created will ever understand, and understanding how everyone reacts to that. That's why the co-option, I'm always talking about co-option. And, at the Great American Meetup, people ask me, what are we going to do with all these illegals? I said, we are going to co-opt them, especially the Latin Americans, the family-oriented religious, hardworking Latin Americans. And that's because they come from a long tradition of being under human sacrifice, because the Azteca, which is not what they call themselves, they call themselves the Mexica, it's a giant empire, and they were doing all kinds of human sacrifice. And when Cortez came in, he recruited other tribes that had been under them, kind of like special forces. It's never really told this way, but because the Aztecas had treated them so badly, and that's how they were really overthrown. They weren't just overthrown by this small group of Spaniards, like history is typically taught. Interestingly enough, when they tried to go up and take on the Apache and Comanche, they were stopped cold, which tells you something about the Apache and Comanche. And I talk about that in my natural native horsemanship video, which is in jeffreyprather.com as well. But I digress. I hope all that makes sense to you. See if I want to cover anything else here. Well, Nathan Glover, my S3 formerly Jewish, now Christ follower. Yes, October 7th and the Holocaust and World War II were both inside jobs on their own people by Zionist Jews who purposely created the conditions ripe for it and then did nothing while innocent Jews were slaughtered. I agree with all of that, which doesn't negate the fact that we still had to go into that war and that we sacrificed greatly in that war. And so that may have been the last just war that America should have been involved in. So I hope all that makes sense. See if there's other questions here as well that I have missed. Nope. See if there's anything else I want to cover before I wrap up here. Somebody on X saying I don't know Yeshua's name, talking about Jesus. Yeshua's name is actually Yahushua, which is the first part of Yahweh. Yahushua or Yeshua. You can say it either way. It's still written the same way. In Aramaic is actually the beginning part of Yahweh as well. So that is very crucial as well. And again, I'm focusing on this spiritual underpinning today because of what I've said. And if you're confused about any of that, again, you can always go to christchaplaincy.com. My spiritual beliefs back up all of everything I'm saying elsewhere. They are not separated. And that's another problem with most people is they're separating everything. They separate out their religion with their politics, and they say, we're not going to talk about politics and religion. We're just going to go along and get along. And that's exactly how things like Trump as Jesus then fester and happen. So hope all that makes sense. All right, then I'm going to, I guess, wrap a little early today, unless anybody has further questions. So remember, you may be an ever-Trumper cultist if you are pro-life and anti-abortion, but fine with Trump covering up the Epstein-class mass kidnapping, rape, torture, murder, and cannibalism of children. You may be an ever-Trumper cultist if you are enraged by Iranian protesters killed by the Revolutionary Guard, but are fine with Israel genociding Gaza civilians, women, and children. You may be an ever-Trumper cultist but you are fine with American troops dying for greater Israel expansion while Israeli soldiers don't join them. You may be an ever-Trumper cultist if you're against LGBT and trannies, but are fine with furries and preteen pageants at Mar-a-Lago. You may be an ever-Trumper cultist if you are against the jab, but fine with Trump celebrating COVID psyop and bioweapon democide warp speed. You may be an ever-Trumper cultist if you are furious with the FBI, but fine with Trump backing FISA and a new giant FBI headquarters bigger than the Pentagon. Trump has done many good works, stopping illegal infiltration, freeing January 6 political prisoners, warring on the cartels, and tariffing China. And I salute him for all of that and more. But he is just a man, not the Messiah, fallible and with a fallen human nature. Don't misplace your belief in Trump over faith in Yeshua. Trump is not the answer. God is. To make America great again, we must be good. To good, we must be godly. God has a plan. Us.